So, all right, guys, welcome. So today's training, we're going to be talking about being delightfully different. And this is exactly what I was talking about today. So the strongest teams are not the ones that are all alike. It's those teams that have a strong foundation together but embrace those differences. And so today we're going to be talking about embracing what makes you different, what makes you stand out. And so many times, a lot of us, we don't want to stand out. We want to blend in because it causes us to feel like we're outsiders if we stand out too much. But in order to have a great team, you need different people on the team. And so that's what we're going to be focusing on today. So sit back, enjoy. We're going to have a great training. I'm going to tell a few different stories about a couple of different things. And some of it, I'm going to be talking about gaming references as well as business. Okay, so let's have a sip of tea and we're going to get going here. So back in the day, it's been a long time, so I'm feeling a little nostalgic about this, but back in the day, I used to play World of Warcraft. And in the beginning, I loved it because I didn't know anything about the rules. I didn't know how to play the game, and I just kind of dropped in. I think it was on New Year's Eve, like after midnight on, I'm not sure what year it was, but I dropped in and I created a character and I wandered around trying to figure things out. Of course, because I was doing it on my own, it took me a long time to figure things out and I didn't really know what I was doing. And I would get defensive when people would try to tell me certain things. Like, I went in as a dwarf priest and that meant I was able to heal myself in the game, but I didn't know that, so I would sit and eat food like the other players because I didn't understand what made me different, what made me magical, and that I could actually heal myself. So because of that, I was trying to do things the way I saw everybody else trying to do it. And not recognizing that I had a particular gift, I had a particular skill set that other players maybe didn't have. And so this is what I want you guys to think about, whether you are a business owner and you're pretty much on your own and you're just getting started, or you're at the point where you're now starting to hire on more people and there's going to be different personalities that you're going to bring on to the business. And having those different personalities is going to be extremely valuable. In the beginning, when you're first building your business, you're going to want to focus more on people that are more like you. They're driven, they're hardworking, they're like results oriented, all of that kind of stuff. And that is going to be a good thing. They like high highs and they like to win and they have drive and all of that kind of stuff. But if you're going to build a sustainable business, not every player on your team is going to be like that. They're going to have, now they can embrace those values, but that's not going to shine in their personality, and nor do you want it to. So in the beginning, like when I was playing World of Warcraft, it was great that I could wander around, but then there were bigger challenges, bigger bosses that kind of came along, and I learned no matter how good I was, I couldn't do those on my own. I actually had to join in with other people that had different skill sets in order to overcome those challenges. And at first wasn't too good at it. And I didn't, again, if you don't understand your gifts, you won't be able to embrace that. You won't be able to focus on that. And you may step into and start drawing the incorrect attention. So for example, as a healer, I didn't know that I could pull aggro because so the big boss guy that we were fighting against, hi big boss on TikTok, the big boss guy that we're fighting against, he knew that the healer is actually the one that is the biggest threat. So if you take out the healer, because they're kind of soft and squishy, and they can't take much of a hit, they tend to. Though if you take out the healer, the whole team wipes, right? But if you are able to, and so as a healer, you have to pay attention that you don't pull aggro away from the tank. So the strongest guy, right? The one that can, can just get hit over and over and over and doesn't even phase him. He's got this great armor on and everything. You're running around in a dress. You can't do anything, right? So, so being aware of what those differences are and embracing those differences, like I wouldn't expect the person that can take the hits to be all, focused on everybody else on the team. They're focused on the one thing that's in front of them and beating that down as fast as possible. And that's a good quality to have, right? So making sure that you have the right people in the right roles. And my mistake in the beginning is I would try to tank. It's like I thought I could beat the big bad, right? It's like, I'm strong, I can do this. And it's like, I've got, DPS, damage per second weapons, and I can do holy fire on them and stuff like that. And I would be like getting in there, and then I would pull aggro, and then the mob or the big boss would come running after me, and then all the other players would start to get upset because now I'm distracting things. I didn't stay in the role that I was supposed to be in, and I caused a bunch of chaos. Now, at the same time, it's all of those things in the beginning. So if you're going through that challenging time in your business where you're just like, oh my God, I'm getting beat up. I don't know what I'm doing. I keep making mistakes, and you keep trying to figure these things out. While it's not fun and it's a grind in the beginning, you will get to the point where you're going to look back and wish that the game was as fun as it was in the beginning. And every player, and we got to the point where we were doing 25-man raids. We were doing that consistently every weekend. We were part of a team. We all got our gear. We were all running around Stormwind and showing off what we had and stuff like that. But at the same time, we'd also talk about how in the beginning, how fun it was. And you could always tell when a new player came on. And I've had many of the higher level players that would come along, and as I'm running across a field being chased by an alligator or something, and they'd come along and they'd heal me or put a bubble on me or something like that because I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And so it's okay if you're in that noob phase of your business. And you're just starting up and you're making mistakes and you're starting to build a team and stuff like that. Enjoy these things, even though they may be difficult right now. You will look back and one day you'll wish that you had the novelty of what you were doing. Because once you start to get to higher levels, you don't have the luxury of running around and making a fool out of yourself. So enjoy these early times. And so we'll go into the training now. That's more the story part, and I hope that was fun. Let's go into the training. So when you start building out your team, you're going to start having different personalities, recognizing what it is that their key skill sets are, why those skill sets are valuable, and not expecting, yes, you want people that are well-rounded, that can embrace the parts that other people have to offer. So don't be expecting your guy that's like the tank that can just hammer things down and get things done fast, can take a beating and all that stuff. Hey Maya, good to see you. Welcome. Am I using my hands too much? Yeah, I probably am. But so don't expect that person who is that pit bull kind of personality that doesn't really care much about people's feelings and just gets the job done. They hammer through. being able to be somebody that can harness that kind of power rather than trying to beat that person down and get them to change and get them to sing kumbaya and all that kind of stuff is not a way of embracing what makes each of us delightfully different. We need all of these pieces. And so you're going to need some of those go-getters. Now, you don't need a lot of them. Maybe only 5% of your company needs to be those hard-hitting, go-getters. Now, if you can handle more and that's the type of company you have, that's great. You'll need some of those other ones that just make it fun. Like when things are getting really hard, you can't just be focused on the numbers and the bottom line. It's like you got to actually enjoy coming into work every day. And so those people that love to walk around and talk and they just like are having a good time all the time, embrace those kind of people as well. Now, those people are going to be a little bit harder. They're probably going to be always looking for a way to socialize. So you can't sit them at their desk and get them to focus on a spreadsheet for hours on end. They're going to need to get up. They're going to need to go talk and mingle with other people and talk about what they watched on TV over the weekend or what movies they saw, or they're going to socialize. Embrace that, because those are really good, useful qualities as well. I don't know how many times I was able to get some information or some answers from different departments just because I was kibitzing with one of the social people from another department and just talking to them either about their family, their dog, what sports they like, whatever it is, having that connection. So embracing people's differences and recognizing your own, what makes you different, what makes you stand out. It's okay to be different. In fact, it's actually imperative, especially if you're a company, right? You want your brand to stand out. What makes you better than the rest? What makes you different? Even if you're not better, what at least makes you different? What makes you memorable? There are lots of people. The people that just blended into the background are not the people I remember from my past. It's something that made them different. It's something that made them stand out. Whether it's that curmudgeonly old guy that's been with the company 150 years and, that's not the way they did it back in my day kind of thing. Embrace them. They have good qualities. They have wisdom. They have insight. Now, you maybe take it with a grain of salt, right? Same thing with the pit bull types. I would harness those kind instead of, I would understand what it is that they didn't like or what would trigger them to come after me. And I'd be like, okay, I don't want you on my ass, so I'm going to do these things right. I'd earn their respect. And when I earn their respect, then I would also say, I'm not so good at beating people up when they need their ass kicked. So, you know what? I can't get this vendor to do this thing, or I can't get this guy to come on the meeting with me. Can you go talk to them, right? And you're like, oh, they feel great. It's like, yeah, I'm allowed to go beat somebody up. Harness them for what they're good at. Let them do what they're good at. And especially if it's not something that you're good at. So this is why it's important to embrace the differences, okay? If you have somebody that is always looking out for everybody on the team, they remember everybody's birthdays, everybody's spouse, they, bring in thoughtful little gifts or treats and stuff like that. They're always focused on making sure everybody feels at home, feels comfortable. Those people are so super valuable. Do not put them in a position where they're going to be the ones that they have to take the hits for the team, that they have to, be put on the spot, or they have to think of the numbers only when they're geared to think of the people first. Those people are your heart and soul of the company. They're going to be a bit slower, but they're going to keep everything together when things get hard. So acknowledge their differences. Don't expect them to be those pit bulls. Embrace them for who they are and know that they still bring immense value to the company, even if they are not like you as the business leader. And you're going to need lots of those people, especially if you grow and scale, because they'll be looking out at everybody on the team. Okay. Then you also have, and these guys always get a bad rap too, is the ones that are all about the rules, the regulations, doing things clean, clear, authentic. They want to make sure you're always following the laws. They won't do anything unless it's in writing. They're, sticks in the mud. They're the bean counters. You're frustrated because they're always putting on the brakes when you want to go forward. But keep in mind, no different than driving a car. If you only had a gas pedal, things would go bad very, very quickly. You need people that can push the brakes, and you also need to know how to help them release the brakes or let go of the brakes, because they now know it's safe to proceed forward. So if you know how to communicate with those personality types and you know how to give them what they need, then you can embrace the differences that they actually bring to the team. And those two slower, quieter, they're going to make up the bulk of your company as you grow and scale. They don't like a lot of change. They don't like a lot of unpredictability. And so as you grow as a business owner from being a startup and being a small business with a small team where you can kind of control everything, you're now going to have to start putting individuals in your company that don't have these same qualities. And it's really important for you to understand the differences and why those differences are important, and embracing that with those team members, embracing who they are and what they bring to the table, because every single person that is in your company should know the value of why you have them in the company. And hey, John, good to see you. It's a long time. Welcome. And so really embrace all the personality types and make sure that they know that their personality, their differences are what make them actually special, what make them stand out. And instead of beating them down for them being different, embrace those, because now you've got all of your bases covered. You've got all 4 of the key personality types, and there's many different personality quizzes out there that you can take, whether it's the GEMS, whether it's True Colors, whether it's the DISC assessment. They're usually broken into 4 categories, and they're pretty much the same characteristics. So whatever you want to call them is fine. I've learned it in many different ways, and I don't have some special made up name that you now need to follow my way. You just know that there's 4. You need all 4. And when you have that and you guys are all joined together, embracing each other's differences instead of beating each other up, trying to get each other to conform and be like you, right? And it's not just the pit bulls that are like this. The timid, the everybody hug everybody, be nice to everybody. We can just be just as bad. And the thing is I'm a balance of those two. I'm a pit bull or that sweet, kind person. So I have that polar switch. And because of that, I can also pivot to those other 2 personality types fairly easily. So because of that, I'm a little bit of a chameleon, and that is just probably a side effect of the trauma I grew up in. So you got to take the good with the bad sometimes, right? Or at least focus on what good came out of the bad. And that is a choice. So the second thing, so that's the personality types, right? Like I said, the strongest teams are those who are not all alike, but they have a foundation that's strong enough that you are able to celebrate and delight in each other's differences. The second one is you want to have a common ground. Okay. Common ground. So you have enough similarities of that you believe in the mission, you believe in the vision, you believe in the company, you believe in being able to produce the results that you want for the company. and knowing what that common ground is, and then also knowing what specific differences that each team or person, because as you start to grow and maybe you start to get to an enterprise size, there will be teams that end up having competing goals. And so one needs it done fast and the other one needs it done thorough. So you have operations and you have accounting. Accounting or systems, they need everything perfect, systemized, like all I's dotted, all T's crossed, done in this order, in this way, no deviation. You follow this process, that's it. And then you'll have the operations that are like, throw the system out the window, whatever you got to do to get that load delivered on time, to service that customer, to do what it is, to make that ad, right? Because their numbers, their profitability is all about, did they get that result? And so if the system starts causing a roadblock to get that result, those guys will cowboy it. They will do whatever it takes to get it done. And you need to value that, because you can always come back and figure out a way to put that in the system in a way that it can be tracked efficiently. So on one hand, yes, systems are good. They track your data and everything. But at the same time, if you don't deliver the results, you won't be able to track any data, right? There's no data to track if you don't actually make the move. So learning how to balance those things and learning how to appreciate that both sides have a role to play and are just as valuable to get the overall goat. Yes, goat gifts. Yes, please, on TikTok, feel free to give me the goat gifts. We got a target of 100. I'm going for 100 today, and this will be a longer training so you guys can help out with that. Thank you. Thank you, Maya. I appreciate that. So making sure that you have that common ground and appreciate the differences as well as the similarities, and making sure that everybody is aware of that. And if you aren't aware of that, do cross training with the teams so that you are being able to present. I know there's many times that I had to present because so you have to manage your brand even within the business, right? Our team was viewed as the pirates, right? Because we were a profit center. We would close contracts, right? Whereas the rest of the company, they were used to, we're the customer, you do it our way. Our team had to be a little bit different. We were going out there trying to get customers. And so we were just this little pocket. And a lot of times we were allowed to do things that other teams weren't able to do. Why? Because we brought in money to the company. And so that gets you a little bit of wiggle room, if you will, right? If you are bringing in sales and you're a profit center compared to a cost center, they're going to lean to what the profit center needs, and so they're going to focus on that. So that's the joys of being in sales. Right? So the third thing is understanding, why does our team exist? Okay, and making sure that the other teams know why your team exists, why it's important, what function do you bring to the company, and I don't care if you are the janitor. I don't care if you are the catering service or the coffee service that comes into the company, or you're the VP or the president of the company. Everybody has got a role to play, and it is always good for everybody within the team to understand what differences of the challenges that one team is going to face compared to another team, right? And when you have awareness between the teams of what the challenges are and how, if your team doesn't do X, Y, or Z, it's going to impact the other team. And this is the impact and the challenges that it brings up. So being aware of those kind of things allows you to instead of just complaining, saying, oh, that team didn't do what I needed to do, or that person. So whether this is personal or a larger team scale, you can focus on, oh, that team did this wrong and this caused all these problems and they're terrible, they're shit, blah, blah, blah. And I've seen stuff like that happen. It's like, there's one team in the company that ends up getting scapegoated for everything. And then it ends up being a problem, right? So when, I got a notification, violation detective, and live now to avoid suspension. Oh, well, looks like we're wrapping it up real soon here. So guys, that is going to be the training for today. And I pretty much had said what I needed to say. If you didn't catch all of it, join me on YouTube, Coach Tina B 125, and click subscribe. You'll get notified when I upload the replay to YouTube. Take care. Have a great night. Bye.